Welcome to the Internet Files. Today we are going to explore one of the most enigmatic and fascinating cases in the history of the United States, the case of D.B. Cooper. In 1971, a man hijacked a plane and demanded a ransom of $200,000, then parachuted out of the sky, disappearing forever. This man became a legend, and to this day, no one knows his true identity. Who was he? How did he manage to escape? And what happened to the money? Let's dive into this mystery and analyze all the clues, theories, and suspects. It was November 24, 1971, Thanksgiving Eve in the United States. A man using the name Dan Cooper purchased a one-way ticket on a domestic Northeast Airlines flight from Portland, Oregon, to Seattle, Washington. This was Flight 305, a Boeing 727 with 36 passengers on board. The man looked normal and discreet, wearing a dark suit, black tie, white shirt, and sunglasses. After boarding, he ordered a bourbon and soda, sitting calmly in his seat. However, shortly after takeoff, he handed a note to the flight attendant. The note read,
"Miss, I have a bomb in my briefcase. I want you to sit beside me."
Upon reading the note, flight attendant Florence Schaffner followed the instructions. Cooper showed her the bomb inside a suitcase with red wires and a cylinder, making it clear he wasn't joking. Cooper demanded $200,000 in undefined notes and 4 parachutes. He also asked that, upon landing in Seattle, the plane be refueled so that it could continue its journey to Mexico. The authorities and the airline decided to comply with the demands out of fear for the safety of passengers and crew. When the plane landed in Seattle, authorities handed over the money and parachutes to Cooper, who, in return, released all the passengers and part of the crew. Only the pilot, co-pilot, a flight engineer, and a flight attendant remained on board of the airplane. After refueling the plane, Cooper instructed the pilot to head for Mexico and maintain a low altitude of about 10,000 feet with reduced speed. He also required that the cabin be kept depressurized, allowing him to open the plane's door mid-flight. In the middle of the flight between Seattle and Reno, Nevada, in a mountainous region and under difficult weather conditions, Cooper opened the rear door of the Boeing 727 and jumped out, taking the $200,000 with him. It was a cold and rainy night. Estimates that the jump took place in a forested area between Washington state and Oregon. After the jump, the mystery began. D.B. Cooper disappeared, and despite an intense search by the FBI, neither the man nor the parachute, nor the money in its entirety have been found to this day. The FBI launched one of the largest investigations in its history, known as NORJAC. Hundreds of agents were mobilized, and the area where Cooper had landed was searched extensively, but surprisingly, no trace of Cooper, the parachute, or any sign of the money was found. In the years that followed, the FBI kept the case open, analyzing evidence, interviewing witnesses, and investigating any leads that might arise. In 1980, something unusual was discovered. On February 10, 1980, an 8-year-old boy, Brian Ingram, found a package containing $5,800 buried on the banks of the Columbia River, about 12 miles from Vancouver, Washington. The notes corresponded to the ransom that had been given to Cooper, identified by serial numbers. This discovery raised more questions than it answered. How did the money get there? Had Cooper lost part of the ransom during the jump? Or was it a deliberate gesture to confuse the authorities? To this day, nobody knows. Over the years, several theories have emerged, and some suspects have been identified as possible D.B. Cooper. Let's get to know the main ones. Suspect number 1, Richard Floyd McCoy. In April 1972, Richard McCoy hijacked a plane in a manner almost identical to the Cooper case. By demanding ransom and parachuting out of the airplane, Richard was captured days later and convicted. Evidence against this suspect, the crime that he was captured for, had immense similarities with the D.B. Cooper case, so initially police suspected they had captured Dan Cooper. However, McCoy was ruled out as a suspect eventually as he was in another city at the time of D.B. Cooper's hijacking. Suspect number 2, Dwayne Webber. In 1995, Duane Webber's wife claimed that he confessed to being D.B. Cooper on his deathbed. He had a criminal history and knew how to do parachute jumps. Problems with this suspect. Despite the similarities, there was no conclusive evidence to confirm that Webber was Cooper, and the FBI ruled it out due to lack of evidence. Suspect number 3, Kenneth Christensen. A former flight attendant and experienced skydiver, Kenneth Christensen matched Cooper's description. Problems with this suspect. The theory was based mainly on appearance and their experience history, but there is no solid evidence that directly links to the case. Suspect number 4, Robert Rackstraw, a war veteran with knowledge of aviation and skydiving. Rackstraw has become a popular suspect among theorists. Problems with this suspect. Rackstraw denied involvement, and once again, definitive evidence was lacking. Now that we have looked at some possible suspects, let's have a look at some theories of what actually could have happened to D.B. Cooper after the jump. Theory number 1, he didn't survive the jump. This is probably the most probable theory. The weather was terrible that night, with freezing rain and strong winds, and Cooper jumped into a dense forest wearing a suit and loafers. Many believe he died on impact and his body was never found. Theory 2, he survived and escaped. Some think Cooper planned the jump carefully, landed safely, and vanished into a new life. He might have known the area well and blended back into society without leaving a trace. Money could have been dropped during the jump. Theory 3, he survived and the money was a diversion. This theory suggests Cooper deliberately dropped or buried part of the ransom money to mislead investigators into thinking he died, while he actually got away. Some believe Cooper survived, changed his identity, and lived quietly for decades. A few men have even claimed to be him or were accused on their deathbeds, but none were ever proven. The case of D.B. Cooper remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in criminal history. Who was this man? Did he manage to escape, or was the jump the end for him? Decades of research and hundreds of theories, his identity remains unknown. Leave your opinion in the comments and tell us what you think happened. Join us next week for another episode of the Internet Files.